Hey, what's going on, everybody? Stay tuned for this episode if you want to hear how or why I got fired from my software engineering job. Should be some juicy details, so I'm pretty excited to share. We're also going to be talking about some key things we're developing and changing in our business, so some different projects we're finishing up and some things we're going to be starting in the future. And lastly, we're going to be going through some key questions and answers that you guys have been leaving on my videos, and that will be cool, a good way for us to interact. So I'm super excited. This is one of my favorite episodes, and yeah, no sense in waiting around. Let's get started. Now, this video is about me getting fired, but you know what will not get you fired? Yeah, that's right, MongoDB. Best choice of database, your boss will love you. MongoDB Atlas is a cloud offering of the world's leading NoSQL database, MongoDB. In just a few minutes, you can have a fully managed cluster deployed to Amazon Web Services, Azure, or Google Cloud Platform. This is a great choice as a developer if you want the productivity of a document database mixed with the flexibility and scalability of the cloud. Why don't you get started with a completely free tier cluster by following the link in the description.
Hey guys, welcome back to this Tuesday episode. I am Erin Curry.
And I am Caleb Curry, and today we're going to be talking about how or why I got fired from my software engineering position. So it should be pretty fun.
We are spilling the tea.
That's right. So where to start? The first thing, I wanted to apologize if there's a cricket. It's driving me crazy. And also, I need a haircut, so apologies. Anything else?
I mean, there is a cricket. It's not a question.
Yeah, there is. Oh.
It stopped.
I think it's done. Ultimately, this is not a story to talk about some fault in either my employer or me, although I'm sure we both had our faults. Everyone does. More, I'm going to be talking about some things I would have done differently if I was to take this job again, or things that could have made it better. Basically, how can you prevent this situation? Or if you want to get fired, how could you reproduce it? So it ultimately boils down to just unclear expectations with work. So I took on this role where the actual amount of work I'd be doing or the expectations from me was unclear. Partly because my boss was only mediumly technical and it was in a stack that I was pretty unfamiliar with. So I was unclear how much time it would take to do things and how fast I'd be expected to produce work. So it was a lack of communication. And I expressed that stress to my lovely wife here as I complained on the regular how sometimes there would be a task that would take like a week or something. And my boss would be like, yeah, you should be able to do that in 15 minutes. Just put this thing there and like, boom, you got this new thing done.
Yeah, I want to also say on the lack of communication thing, I think it was Caleb thought he could do all of this work. So his boss had recently been working with a whole team. And I think his boss expected Caleb to be able to work as fast as the whole team did. Caleb thought he could do it just to make him happy. And then he was working crazy hours and just couldn't get it done. And his boss was like, hey Caleb, why isn't this in yet? And that was also the lack of communication, was just he wanted this. You thought you could do this when you could really do this.
Yeah, I think he wanted this. Realistically, I could have done this, but I was really doing probably like this. And probably just because I didn't have enough skills. It was in stuff I wasn't familiar with.
Yeah.
So I should have been at least up to here and bringing him down to this point. Mm-hmm.
I think you were hoping you could get, to his level, but it was not quite there.
And part of the issue is not that I'm stupid, although that might be a thing. It's more that we didn't have enough time, right? Because this was a startup environment. So he hired this agency to build this app. They worked on it, got it done, or got it at least to the point where he could start using it. And then they just offloaded that to me. So he was expecting just to any bug fixes just to get them done. And so he could start making customers because he was on a really fun, tight budget, essentially. Mm-hmm. Each dollar or each hour I worked was money coming out of his bank.
Yes.
So he was really focusing on growing rapidly. And that's great. But the challenge was the learning curve for me was just too high. Mm-hmm. So the first thing was unclear expectations, lack of communication. And the second thing was I overestimated my abilities. I took on someone else's code. The code base kind of was terrible. I'm blaming them, but... And there was also sort of a language barrier with accents. I had a hard time understanding the people that were giving the code to me, and there wasn't much commenting or any really strong documentation on how to actually work with the software. And unfortunately, the software had a lot of conventions that they followed that wasn't exactly clear from the beginning. Maybe you don't entirely understand because you're not a software developer. But
I kind of get it, though. I mean, like, they didn't communicate well. Back to the communication thing. Back to what we talked about last week with burnout. Communication is so important. And they didn't. I understand what commenting is actually in code, so I understand that too.
That's good. She's pretty smart.
I'm really good. I'm a coder.
Anywho, anytime I would want help and we'd set up this meeting, which would be kind of a big thing because my boss would join in and the agency would join in, and it was kind of like a lot of people, a lot of time, a lot of money involved in that. And I had a hard time understanding what they were saying. They're kind of pointing me in directions I didn't know what they were even talking about half the time. So for your recommendation, with working with teams, what I would have done differently is I would have asked for that documentation in text. Like, that hour could have been better spent if they just wrote down the steps to do something rather than showing me this stuff and I had to watch this video over and over again trying to figure it out. The third thing was that in my opinion, the application was over-architected, if that's the word. The architecture was on the extreme side. And if you guys watch my tutorials, my programming tutorials, my strategy is keep it simple, stupid. Don't overdo something if it's not required. And I kind of felt like this agency was partially trying to suck the boss's money as much as possible. Because the application ended up taking a lot longer and a lot more money than they originally estimated. And there was a lot of stuff that I would personally would have considered it unnecessary at that stage. Right? Because, like, in the future, I'm going to be developing some apps, and my approach is I need to get a minimum viable product that would allow me to launch the app in a couple of months, not a really long time, especially as one person. So that means anything that's going to complicate the architecture, save that for a later date. Once I'm making money, I can always redesign it or whatever I need. And that's going to bring up some controversy because some people just say, hey, build it to scale and be everything you would ever need at the beginning. And then other people just say to get what you need at the start and figure it out as you go. And I think I land more on the figure it out as you go thing because this application could have been a lot more simple. Fourth, Unfocused. I had to work on numerous different projects. Well, two main ones, really. So it wasn't a ton, but I was coming into this startup as literally the first employee. He did some outsourcing, but this was his first employee. So he envisioned me taking on a more of an overview position. So I was talking with him on the regular with potential investments, people to invest in the business, and just chatting with him every day on his decisions, which is totally fine. That's a role I wanted to fill. But at the same time, doing that and trying to figure out all this React stuff and trying to set up a blog and do all these little things is kind of like, I don't know what to actually do. You know what I'm saying? And the last thing was just the environment was too fast. Like we mentioned, each hour was time out of... each hour was money out of his budget.
Which makes sense. I mean...
Yeah, and he wanted the app done. He wanted it to go, and I required too much training. So ultimately,
it was ultimately just a bad match.
Yeah,
and that's fine. That happens sometimes. It's not like he did something wrong or you did something wrong. It was just like it was not mending together.
Yeah. And there was like a point in the relationship where we kind of just synced, not like downward, but like synchronized.
I wanted to say that too. You didn't really get fired per se. It was more like Caleb came to him and just said, hey, I really don't know if I can do this. Like, I don't feel like I'm meeting your expectations. I don't think you're happy with me. And he was kind of like, yeah, I'm kind of feeling like that too. And then like a couple of days later, he was like, his boss called and said, I think it's time to move on.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was kind of getting fired, but at the same time, it was still like
what's the
an agreed upon.
Laid off? Is that the word?
I'm not really sure. Let go.
Yeah, let go. the softer version of I got fired.
Yeah, but it was also like you agreed on it.
Yeah. But this ultimately opened my eyes to a lot of things. One, like, I don't really feel like you need to work at a company for numerous years. Like, I don't think having that on my resume is ultimately going to hurt me, which is why I'm sharing it with you guys versus keeping it a secret. I told my parents I was doing this video, and they're like, why? That's going to hurt your reputation. I'm like, yeah, but it doesn't matter because this is me being authentic, sharing my true self.
It happens. I think it happens a lot with technology and coding. Like, I think it's very common for, like, a programmer to only work someplace for a couple months and realize it's not working.
Yeah, I was glad I figured it out then rather than going through months and months of stress. And then, you know, I take all his money. We still haven't got anything. And then, yeah, downhill from there. So now we're going to be talking a little bit about our business development as we have been for each one of these episodes. So what's new on our plate, the things we're expecting to do in the next couple months, and so forth. So would you like to start with that?
Well, recently we did a couple really, really long days so that we could finish a particular sponsor. And we finally got it done, and it feels like fantastic. It feels so good. You guys have probably noticed, I mean, if you're like consistent followers, that we uploaded about 130 videos in one day.
Yeah. Fortunately, I learned how to turn off the notifications, so no more video spam for you guys.
Yeah, so I think we pulled, I mean, at least 2 days where we worked like 15 hours.
Yeah, I mean, 2 or 3 in a row.
Yeah.
And that was after already spending like numerous hours over time planning the material.
We're still recovering.
And everything like that. So it was pretty intense.
It was intense. But it was also fun.
Kind of a situation where I overpromised and was under-delivering, which I'm learning to not do. I've done that numerous times with my work and also with you guys on YouTube where I say, hey, I'm doing this thing, and then I end up burning out and not doing it. So we got that done.
Yes.
And ultimately, we're working on another sponsor. We're trying to finish that up, but that one's actually sort of on time. And that should be done. That's for Oracle Apex, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, you finished recording today.
Lastly, I'm working on finishing my MongoDB course for Pearson, and that's due by the end of the month, so I'm going ham on that right now.
Yeah, we're basically pretty much trying to finish, like, almost everything in August. Obviously, we have a ton more stuff to do all the time, but in September, I start school, and I'm not going to have as much time to help Caleb, so we're just, like, kicking major butt right now and just trying to get, like, everything done.
We are slapping some serious booty
yes.
right now. I said that at work one time. People were like, what? On that note of her working less and us getting our stuff done, I am considering kind of shifting my focus of my stuff rather than just mass producing content, more of thinking about this as a business. And as a result, I am heavily considering outsourcing to a particular person, which maybe one day we'll bring her on to talk. But basically having her be my relationship manager for sponsorships and finding me new sponsorships. So I think we're going to start hiring her for about 30 hours a week. That should be pretty cool.
It's really crazy, thinking that we're, like, getting, like, a team member.
Yeah.
I like that. So today we have a plethora of kind of mixed questions and comments. We don't have too many because you guys are really bad at commenting. So
or maybe we just don't get any views.
That too. So this actually, I think all of these were literally from at least a year or years ago.
Yeah, but they're good stuff and like.
Haley Powell. I really like how you spell your name. I think it's cute. Anyway, I'm sorry. Anyway, I just started a career in a new industry, technology, and have been so lost. This video helped me tremendously. I really don't know what video it was, but
any of my videos are also helpful.
I'll be binge watching your channel for the next month. Thank you for putting this in plain English and making the content so easy to grasp. Fingers crossed this helps and I don't get fired for being an idiot.
Like me.
Caleb said, don't worry about being an idiot. I'm an idiot too. Work hard and learn what you can. If you're doing your best and working hard, that's what really matters. So I don't know, we just kind of pulled this in just to show you guys the conversation. And
other people go through this stuff. Like, she took on a job and she's like, holy freaking crap, like, I can't do this. And
she probably feels like she's going to get fired, like, every day because Caleb went through that same thing. He was just like, I'm going to get fired today. I'm going to get fired today. What are we going to do? I'm going to get fired. Basically every job.
Yeah, well, Haley, I hope your experience has improved. It's been about a year now, so I have a feeling either you're in the job and you're finally catching up, or
you've moved on.
You've moved on and realized.
Which either way is good. Jonathan asked you this question. He said, "How long did it take you to get a job as a web developer?"
About 0 days, because I wasn't looking for a job as a web developer, and someone reached out to me and was like, "Hey, do you want a job?" And I was like, "Not really." And then I met him in person, and somehow I came home with a job. So
I want to add, because you worked on it through YouTube.
Yeah.
Because he has seen Caleb's YouTube. He knew the family, right? So how it was? He knew the family somehow. And he had known Caleb's YouTube channel. And he was like, "I need help. Like, I want to hire you." So that was pretty cool. But at the same time, you've been doing YouTube for quite a long time.
Yeah.
So it's not like you didn't know anything and you just got hired.
I guess you're right. Sorry.
You were working on it, but...
It took me 0 days. I'm that good. But the reality is, it took me, a year or two of creating content on YouTube, building up that resume, and then a job came to me.
Ben Hill. It's kind of a long story, so... Well, he says long story short. That's funny.
Skim through it if you want.
He says he has a bachelor's in anthropology, and he worked in health information management before he got sick and had to take a couple years off. He says, "I'm now 52 and having to start all over again. Is it possible for an old person like me to learn enough coding fast enough to actually get a job in this?" And he had some coding in his early 20s, or in his 20s, and says that, it was way back in the day. So he's just interested in your input, wants to know if he can learn fast enough to get a job since he's older.
That's an interesting question. I think you can get a job, but even if people say it's not a thing, the age discrimination is a thing. As you get older, you have a harder time staying in the industry, and that's just kind of like a fact of the way it is. But,
I wouldn't let that stop you, though.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't let that stop you, because there are plenty of people that do succeed in it, and there is often roles that might not be full software engineering that you might fit in. Alternatively, you can look into freelancing using Upwork or something where you just put your resume and your portfolio, and then you have a quantifiable thing of how well you are, and it's less of a ongoing thing, because if a company is going to hire someone, they want to hire people that can give them the best years of their life, give them their prime, which is why usually software companies are stealing the souls of young individuals, in my opinion. But would you agree, or am I totally off?
Yeah. No, I think so.
So, yes, you can. To answer your question, definitely, yes, you can. It might be more of a challenge. That doesn't mean you can't do it. In fact, that challenge should encourage you to do it.
Where should he start then? Because this kind of leads on to my next question from John. And he says he wants to be a programmer. What's the best approach to becoming a programmer, and what languages do you learn first? Like, where should he put his focus?
Yeah, and there can be unlimited, top 3 languages or top 5 languages or whatever, but it's all kind of fluff. And
you get this question so
yeah, and I've done videos about it, and it's helpful to kind of know what's in. But the reality is you should probably just figure out what you want to do and then figure out what languages are required. Right? If you want to build an iPhone app, then you should probably learn Swift or whatever. If you just have no idea what you want to do, then just pick a common language and start learning it. I don't want to give a definite answer, but you look into JavaScript, you look into C# or Swift if you're wanting to build some apps. More importantly, there might be some good resources out there that can help you. I don't want to sound pushy, but check out Pluralsight, check out Pramp. Those services are going to give you more experience than just casually learning code from blogs and YouTube videos, because they're more systematic.
Mm-hmm. And we can put the links for those in the description too.
Yeah, another business development we've made. I just partnered with a company that'll actually do interviews with you, help you go through these quizzes to practice your material and place you at a job. So it's essentially a recruitment company. And that might be a good way to go, because then they can help you find the right company and the right language to study or whatever. So I'll also leave a link for that in the description if I remember. So I asked on Instagram if there's any questions on being a tech influencer, and I got a couple of responses. One from Alexandra the Great, which is, yeah, how do you do it? So how do you be a tech influencer, and what does this have to do with anything? Well, as we talk about the career path of a software developer or a software engineer, whatever you want to call yourself, as you shift less from a standard 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 job and more to the freelance market, you also shift more to the influencer area. Now, you don't necessarily have to be an influencer posting social media photos all the time, but when you go into freelancing, you have to start worrying about how you look online, how your presence in your website and your portfolio, and that's all about having a personal influence on social media in a way. So how do you start being a technical influencer? You get a resume. By resume I mean a portfolio, not a piece of paper with what you do. Put a portfolio together on a website. Get your social media channels looking good. You don't have to be a sensational superstar like me or something. But you do want to start producing content online, and once you figure out your niche, if it's web development or I can't think of literally anything right now, whatever your niche is, focus on that and make that clear in the content you're producing online, and then have a way for companies to contact you in a professional manner, ideally an email form on a website. Thank you for watching. And also thank you to our sponsor, MongoDB Atlas.
We have these coming out every single Tuesday, so don't forget.
I just want to know what you guys have enjoyed about this series. If you've watched the other ones, great. Or if this is your first one, what was unique about this that you would like to see more of? So leave your comments in the comment section below, and we'll be sure to check them out. And maybe we'll feature some of your questions or comments in the upcoming episodes.
Maybe if you're nice, because I pick them, so.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace out.
Peace.
And subscribe.